It's for the division of Google called Enterprise, which is the part of Google that provides products to private organizations. They're IT solutions based on Google Apps, Search, Maps and Earth, and Christini services for the most part.
Yeah, like my personal blogs, RemcoJanssen.com and MarketingPRVZ.com, they're both hosted by you. So
you're a customer.
I'm
Thank
a customer.
You.
Yeah,
I love you.
Yeah. But we're not discussing Google Apps, we're discussing Google Wave. And, I'm a PR advisor, and I was actually quite amazed about the entire big buzz surrounding Google Wave. Maybe even Google Nexus as well. So what are the PR strategies for surrounding Google Wave?
I love the question, and the great answer is it's kind of not up to us. In the same way that Google Wave is not really up to us, we've provided a platform that people can work with and where they can develop concepts, opportunities, innovation that really meet their own needs and really like stretch the parameters of what they found possible in web environments before. I think the same is really true with PR. We're sort of watching how people talk about it. We're looking at the way that people blog about us. The way that they're shaping the way Wave is perceived. And I think that, I love that our strategy is kind of a non-strategy.
Yeah.
I'm sure a PR lead at Google would answer the question differently than I have, but my experience watching how Google Wave is being shaped by the market has been it's a very open approach to PR.
Yeah, and it's an open approach to PR, and there's a lot of buzz created by other people than Google people as well. But there must be some kind of a starting point, like, hey, we're launching Google Wave or we're experimenting with it, and then people find it relevant and start blogging or tweeting about it.
Yeah.
So where is the starting point?
The starting point at Google with a concept like that is always with our blogs, usually our general, the official Google blog, but then also launching really...
It's first in my RSS feed, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. That's great.
Well.
Also looking really concurrently with the release of Google Wave, the beginning of the Google Wave blog, and then very open conversation about Google Wave on Twitter, and the world tour of the people who created Google Wave. They've been traveling. In fact, they were very recently here in the Netherlands talking with people.
Yeah, I wasn't invited. Come on, guys.
Oh, I wish I'd known. No, I didn't know either, to tell you the truth. But I think really it's a very conversational product. It's a product that's as much about watching it take shape in the reality of the market, which is much larger than any development initiative that any company can really establish. Is what happens when you release a platform like that out into the public. Yeah. So I think that the PR strategy, the starting point is definitely the blog, the opening of the conversation, if you will, and the PR strategy is really about watching, learning, refining, and seeing what takes shape.
But what you see now happening surrounding Google, there was a time that Google only got good PR, or almost only good PR, and now you see that the Nexus 1, the introduction sort of, well, it wasn't that big of a success, I would say, just a little bit. And even Google Wave, you said you still had some invites. I have a lot of invites. When people tell each other on Twitter, come on, what's happening next with Google Wave? Isn't it that big, Maybe your buzz is even too big already, too successful for the customers. Could that be possible?
I think it's really up to the customer to decide that. I mean, we're a company that's constantly innovating and experimenting, and I don't think there's ever been any system, scientific, commercial, or anything where.
But is it a threat? Is it a threat that consumers think, well, the buzz is too big and the product is not relevant enough for me?
It's not something I've ever viewed as a threat before. I've been worried about. I mean, I think Google is a company that's about constant experimentation and innovation. We're always changing and putting things out there. And I think there's a lot of history within Google of trying things, letting the market decide what the value of it is. One thing I really think is interesting about Google is whereas many companies create products to fund as revenue opportunities, Google looks at revenue opportunities as a reason to create products, so to fuel the creation of products. The company is really driven much more by innovation and by trying new things than it is by saying, we are going to go out and create this very specific business opportunity and structure it this way. It's a very open company in that we're willing to experiment, give things time to develop, It doesn't surprise me that I haven't even given away all of my invitations to Google Wave yet, because people don't really know what it is yet, and
it's a really difficult platform, isn't it? It's really hard to get the hang of it. That's my point of view right now.
Yeah,
that can change.
I could change. I don't push the technology hard enough that I find it hard yet, but I think people who are more technical are more at the edges of the product and maybe have a sense of the limitations more than I do. But it feels to me like a very new product, and I mean, Gmail was in beta for a very long time. We only took the beta off of that in October and November of last year, when we have millions and millions, hundreds of millions of users. This is very much a baby product, and it's going to be for a while. We're not in a hurry to force it to grow up. I think we'll watch it take shape as it chooses to take shape.
Yeah, but it's the same probably with Google Nexus, the super phone versus the iPhone, you know. Like the iPhone immediately sold out in the beginning sometimes, you know, in some places. With the Nexus phone, it's maybe slowing down a little bit, but it's more in the long tail perhaps?
I wish I were better prepared to answer the question. I think for Google, there's a lot of excitement just around releasing this phone. This is our first, you know, our own first Google branded device, and my sense is that we're really happy with what the response to the product has been. So we'll see how that takes shape.
It's an experiment as well, right? Happening place under our noses.
Yeah, I imagine it is.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Ellen.
Thank you very much.
I thought it was a very nice conversation. I'm looking forward to seeing Google launch new products. Do you have maybe news for us that you can leak out?
Turn off the flip cam and I'll tell you everything.
Yeah, well, probably, Thanks.
Thank you.
So my point is that